All right, and we are live. And we were waiting on Travis. Travis had to take care of something, so yes, we're a little late. So those that are saying this is a miss, well, maybe you shouldn't be watching hit or miss if you're just expecting a miss all the time.
Man, let us get started first.
Let us get started. Let us start talking and whatnot, getting through the articles we're gonna go over tonight before you say it's a miss. You know, it's just I don't say anything bad about anybody else's show. But maybe I should after what Foss did the other night. That was awful. He was mean. So, anyways, I got a couple people here tonight. We may get some more people in later. It just all depends on who decides to show up. So, first up, we got everyone's favorite Travis P11. We were waiting on him to start. So, Travis.
Man, I was gone for 30 seconds, and then I come back, and now I'm the reason why the show's late. But anyway, I appreciate the invite, man. Thank you very much. Good to be here. Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
Come on, man. It was like 3 minutes. You can handle it, man.
Man, we're good. Ready to rock and roll tonight. You got a lot of good topics lined up. I'm pretty excited, actually.
So, and then we got Scott 79 here. Scott doesn't normally jump in, but he has been jumping in a lot more lately, and I'm glad he has because it's nice to get Scott's perspective. So thanks, Scott, for jumping in.
Yep.
So we got a couple topics to talk about tonight. Before we get into the big ones, I do want to mention on the whole 80% thing that's going on with the building, building your own firearms and whatnot. So at midnight tonight, they say the new redefinition ruling takes effect, and unfortunately, earlier in the day, the court would the judge in the court case with 80% arms or something would not file an injunction on that redetermination. So it sounds like the judge may already be leaning towards the Biden side instead of ruling again on the letter of the law. So it may be an uphill battle there. But on that, the ATF did say the other day in court that they can't stop people from selling 80% receivers. They can only redefine 80% receivers with the actual build kits, like the jig and the drill bits, and like whatever other parts, right? All and the build parts, like the trigger parts, the slide and barrel. They define that whole kit as a firearm. But if you just sell the 80% receiver, you can still sell that. You just can't sell, everything together. So it's sounding like they want everybody to sell everything separately. It is what they said in court, and that'll bite them in the ass later. But again, that's what's going on with the redetermination. Nobody yet is actually trying to push the envelope on this one and test this theory. But again, it is the ATF, or as our fearless leader says,
the AFT.
Yes. Anyways, so there's that. So we're gonna move on from that, and we're gonna go and talk about a really, really bad home invader. I mean, it's just like the worst home invader you would ever want to see. You would ever not want to see in your house. Okay. So listen to this. The home invasion. Colorado man emptied a 40 caliber pistol into a 400-pound black bear he found in his dining room. Okay, I know. Go ahead, laugh. You guys can laugh. It's cool, but the fact that there was a bear there, it's ridiculous in itself. But Ken Malden was jolted awake last weekend with his wife screaming incessantly in their split-level home in Colorado's main town of Steamboat Springs, where their 3 children were sleeping one floor below. Then she yelled, "There's a bear in the house!" Kelly Malden had just been awakened by the couple's barking dogs that didn't wake her husband before dawn on Saturday. She walked to the door of the couple's bedroom and found herself staring at a male black bear weighing about 400 pounds, about 10 feet away in the dining room. In an interview, Ken Malden said he grabbed his .40 caliber pistol, took his wife's place at the door, and shot once, aiming for the center of the bear's body. He thinks the first shot hit the bear, and it charged him as Malden continued firing. As he was shooting, the bear got as close as 5 feet from Malden and then turned toward the stairs leading to the home's front door. The bear crashed through a banister as Malden emptied the gun, and it slid down the stairs, mortally wounded. The couple didn't know at the time, but officials believe the bear got inside the home by flipping down the lever of their unlocked front door handle and pushing the door. It's plausible. He could have broken a window too. This is a home invasion.
Nice Strike. I think we need more of these 40 caliber for the win hero stories. I really think it would shut up all those naysayers at 40 Smith and Wesson.
I know. Let me finish. It goes on. It goes on. Okay. After it was shot, the bear lay breathing, heaving between Malden and his 3 sons on the home's lower floor. He didn't think the bear would get back up. He called 911, and one of his sons called him on his cell phone. Malden told the son to stay put in his room. My only thought was protecting my family and putting that bear down, said Malden. The bear had moved an unopened bag of dog food across the dining room. Police and state wildlife officers arrived a short time later and determined that the bear was dead. They used the winch to pull it into a truck and were impressed by its size, said Justin Pollack, a Colorado Parks and Wildlife officer, 21 years. He said, I deal with bears a lot, and I'd say this was a big bear, he said. Colorado has about 12,000 bears, and break-ins aren't uncommon in Rocky Mountain towns. But homeowners shooting bears in their homes is rare, said Rachel Gonzalez, spokesperson for Colorado Parks and Wildlife. State law allows people to shoot bears if they feel threatened, she said. And that's more threatening than a bear being in your dining room, right? In the days before the bear opened the door to Malden's home, neighbors had talked about a bear getting into their garages, and other homeowners had reported bear break-ins. Malden said the family always does a nightly check to close the windows and lock doors, but that night the front door had been left unlocked. All right. Gonzalez said there's no way of knowing if the same bear seeking food at other homes broke into the Malden's family home. Black bears avoid humans once they realize food is behind a window or stuffed inside a bird feeder. They will return, Pollack said. Bears are very smart, Gonzalez said. Once they learn that it's easy to access food in a certain area, they're going to keep doing it. The bear's hide meat will be donated to people who have signed up on a list to receive them, and its head will go up for auction, Pollack said. Malden hopes the break-ins at his home sparks greater awareness to prompt something good from something so terrible that happened. We are in a situation now where we have town bears that have lost all of their natural fear of humans, Malden said. In my mind, that's what we have to address. That's the end of that article. But let's be honest, that's the worst home invader. Like, Scott, would you want to open your front door and find a bear in the middle of your living room?
It'd be bad for him if I did.
Yeah, exactly. But as Travis said, you know what this the moral of the story is, Scott? It's that 40 Smith & Wesson is still good for something. It took down a bear.
It did take down a bear.
Down a bear. It can take down a home invader.
It took down a 400-pound black bear. So I hate to say it, but it's still a viable caliber. Is it the best in the world? No,
not exactly small either.
No, a 400-pound black bear.
For a black bear.
Yeah, that's pretty freaking huge. So 40 Smith & Wesson is still viable. Is it the best caliber in the world? No, but I'd rather have 40 Smith & Wesson against a black bear than a 9mm. I'll tell you that. So, but
No.
I'd love to know what the rounds are and what the gun was. I'm really kind of curious what he was running.
It's probably Glock.
It was probably either Glock
Yeah.
or some sort of
It was a
Smith.
problem solver.
Problem solved. Oh boy.
Problem solved.
Oh boy. And he eked in at the last minute. We got Guns and Barbecue in here. How's it going,
No,
Guns and
good.
Barbecue?
Not bad. Thanks for the invite. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Do you want to comment on the 400-pound black bear in home invading?
I'm just saying, I mean, if you would have been using a 45 in 1911, I feel like it probably would have taken less shots, but, it's still better than 9mm, I reckon.
I don't
would have
know.
if he was using a 1911, he would have to have reloaded at least twice.
No
Yeah.
way. It would have only taken like two shots. Come on, Night Strike. 2 World Wars.
Come on, we know somebody that had the magged up a deer and had
No,
to
no,
reload.
no, it's not. It's 2 World Wars, Korea, Vietnam, and actually Desert Storm.
True story.
But we also know somebody that had the mag dump on a deer to try and put it down and had to reload.
And we
From
got
like
Tony
5
in
feet
here
away.
now too.
You know what you should do?
What should we do?
You should hang that bear's head on the door so it would be a warning to all the other bears who want to come in.
If
That's
he
an
wasn't
awesome idea,
using
man.
40 short and fat and was using 10mm, he would have only needed 1 shot.
No, you know what I would do? You know what I would do? I would take that bear and the skin and make a bearskin rug with the bear's head at the front, and I would put that right at the front door as you walk into the house. So any other bear will think twice before invading that home.
Stuff the bear, make him into a coat hanger.
Yeah.
You're not going to lay naked on the bear skin rug in front of a fireplace, are you, Night Strike?
I don't do that sort of thing. But
Only if you ask politely.
No, I'm not into that thing because I'm not getting paid for that.
Oh, so if
you're
you get
saying
paid,
you would do
you'll
it if you're getting paid.
Yeah.
I might. It depends on how good the money is.
So we could do a GoFundMe.
No,
Dude.
The
Night Strike Bears it all. GoFundMe
that may
campaign
be an
2023.
OnlyFans type situation.
Oh, okay.
I'm waiting to hear on the news report the liberal news say that, he should have had his door locked. It's his fault.
Yeah, in Colorado that'd be true because they have magazine limits in Colorado.
This is America, Jack. If you don't want to lock your door, you don't have to.
America.
So
leave your door unlocked. Come on in.
So it's no surprise that that Canada's had a change of heart on its firearms policy lately. You've all heard about that, right? Where they're basically banning everything. They're banning everything.
Oh, that, yeah.
Yeah, it's like you don't even. They're getting rid of the rights to own firearms altogether in Canada, which is like, well, good luck. Good luck. Most people will just not turn them in and just hold on to them.
Yeah, when you said change of heart, I thought you meant that they're like, oh, wow, we're really messing up here. We're going to give everybody all their gun rights and then some because full autos are awesome and everybody needs belt fed. But nope.
Yeah, well, the Toronto police is bragging about confiscating a hunk of rust. You heard
Oh,
it.
yeah, I've seen that.
A hunk of rust. And what I mean by a hunk of rust is they tweeted this on Twitter earlier saying off the streets. But look at this thing. Look at this. Let me see.
More like out of a river.
They got this out of a river, and I don't care who you are, but no amount of machining and work will get this to be a usable firearm again. Because these guns,
I totally disagree with you. Have you ever seen the restoration videos on YouTube? Dude, these people can bring anything back to life.
No, not this one. It's too far gone. Plus,
I don't know, man. You'd be surprised, man.
No,
just take a little Dremel tool and clean it all
this
up.
one is too far gone.
Man. They do.
Plus, the metal that these things were made out of. These things were made out of pot metal. You do not want to shoot these. I've got one of these that is rusty. I still don't want to shoot it.
Well, do we know what it is? What is it?
It's an old Smith and Wesson, or it may be a knockoff like an H&R, or it may be an Ivor Johnson or U.S. revolver, co-revolver. and that's
So-
it's either in one of three calibers, either in 22, 32 Smith and Wesson, or 38 Smith and Wesson.
So we
and
now know 12 guns that Night Strike has.
no, and
Well, you said you had one. You just
I
gave us,
have
like,
I
12
have
different
one in
guns.
I have one in 38 Smith and Wesson. It's the U.S. Revolver Co. one. I got to replace the gate where the firing pin screws on. You screw it on and it holds the firing pin in place. I have to replace that gate because the one that was there, because it was made out of pot metal, it's over 100 years old. It apparently
thing's
broke in half.
It's got a hair trigger for sure. Look at that thing.
These pistols were single action, double action, and they only made them in 3 calibers. Okay, it doesn't matter what company we're talking about made it. I was Ivor Johnson, Harrington Richardson, or Smith and Wesson.
I bet it's
or,
a 32.
or U.S. Revolver Co. They only made them in 3 calibers, which was 22. They made them in 32 Smith and Wesson and 38 Smith and Wesson, and that's 38 Smith and Wesson. That's not special. That's 38 Smith and Wesson. It was before special.
Yep. I've got a Model 2 Lemon Squeezer and 38 Smith & Wesson.
So just for that. Also, hold on. Everyone duck. We got a super chat from Baron SVG.
Incoming!
And he didn't give us any message. He just gave us a smiley face with sunglasses. So thank you, Baron, for the super chat.
He's a swell guy.
No, Baron's an awesome dude. I love hanging out with Baron.
Absolutely.
I remember when
Boss.
Daniel was nice like that.
Yeah, I remember too. And then and then the dark times happened. Anyways, but I just figured I mentioned this because this is a hunk of rust. This is a paperweight, and it's a paperweight that'll leave rust marks on your paper. But it's not the fact that the Toronto police said that they got this one off the streets is ridiculous because they pulled this out of a river or a lake or a stream. Because look at that. It's ridiculous.
Well, it could be used as a blunt force object, which, kills more people than guns. So.
Imagine if you threw that thing in a sock.
or you could tie a chain to it and use it as a boat anchor. But I just had to talk. I just had to point out the ridiculousness of it, because it's just like, it's ridiculous. So, $2. Daniel gives me a $2 super chat. Says that was back before Night Strike cost me $48K. Laugh out loud. I didn't tell you to get that. You decided to go on a drunk purchase. So, Daniel, if anything, you should stop drinking. He bought a $48K CNC machine.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but he blames me for it.
Oh, he wrote it off as an
He probably wrote it off anyways
expense.
on his taxes, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Anyways, but he complains about
or at least depreciated it for 5 years.
and he told his wife it was divine intervention, aka it was Night Strike's fault.
Well, I hope he doesn't have any dogs,
Yeah.
because the IRS don't look like they can hit anything accurately.
Oh, yeah, those 87,000 new IRS agents, right?
If you've seen the videos, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna stop sharing that. We're gonna move on because we got some more topics to talk about tonight.
They should auction that thing off.
Real quick, Night Strike. Did the Toronto Police Department happen to say what street that they got that off of?
No, they didn't. They didn't mention what street or what stream they got it out of.
Bunch of hosers.
They are hosers. It's true. Yeah, but they got a piece of archaeology and they called it off the streets, and I'm like, wow.
I'm still with Travis. Restoration project.
Those guns are made out of pot metal. You really don't want to shoot those.
Be okay.
Oh boy. All right.
Like to live on the wild side.
All right. So everyone's seen some of the videos that have been going around where the ATF has been knocking on people's doors and asking them about guns they purchased lately. You've seen that, right?
No.
I don't really see anything.
I've seen one, the one
well,
where they showed up in my guy's neighborhood, but yeah.
What
Guns
what
and
state is this
barbecue.
in?
I'm not gonna be mean or anything, but you've heard of that, right?
I reckon I have.
Either in Illinois or Indiana, right?
Yeah.
Delaware.
There was
few
video.
places.
There was a video recording of one guy through his Ring camera that the ATF came and asked him about 2 rifles he bought.
That one was Delaware.
That was Delaware. Yes, Delaware. That's right. Thank you. And apparently this has been happening all over the country. It's not just been happening in one area. So apparently Ernst has pressed the DOJ on ATF's warrantless visits to recent gun buyers. All right. Apparently it says, as has been reported for the past few weeks, the ATF has taken an unusually aggressive approach to cracking down on straw purchases, showing up at gun owners' homes and asking questions about their recent purchases. So far, most of the mainstream media has ignored these incidents, but now that Senator Joni Ernst of Iowa is demanding answers from Attorney General Merrick Garland, the agency's knock-and talks could soon come under greater scrutiny from both news outlets and politicians in Washington, D.C. It says here, several reports and videos have surfaced detailing ATF agents engaging in knock-and-talk investigations of straw purchases, Ernst wrote in the letter obtained by Fox News Digital. During the course of these knock-and-talk investigations, ATF agents knock on the front door of a private residence and ask the resident to display a recently purchased firearm as proof that the resident did not conduct a straw purchase. In all of the knock and talk incidents brought to my attention, none involved the presentation of a warrant. Okay, you understand why that's an issue? Because you and here's the thing: if they come to your house and ask you about anything you've bought, it is your God-given right under the laws of the United States to say, I don't talk to law enforcement, and to go and talk to your lawyer and have your lawyer represent you. That is well within your right. You don't have to talk to them at all. They don't have a warrant. So why are they asking you about your property that they don't have a warrant for, that they want to see? You see, that's the people think that these knock and talks are all right. It's not, because they don't have warrants.
Well, the real problem there is people don't realize what their rights are.
Yeah, and that is another problem, because, well, let's be honest, people didn't pay attention in government when they took government classes in high school. They didn't pay
there's other
attention
stuff to it too. One of the things is I'm trying to remember who the guy was that did this study, but they were trying to figure out, why people in World War II were just like, yeah, we're just going to do what we're told. And
hold up. We got another super chat, and we got another super chat from Daniel saying, "You mean night strike given right?" Well, Daniel, if that's how you choose to believe it so, then you are more than welcome to believe it so. But I am not God, okay? So I can't say that.
Nice.
All right.
But yeah, so they had conducted this experiment where they would tell people, hey, we're going to ask this person questions, and we know the answer, and if they get it wrong or something, you juice them. And so these people that are, it was a single blind study, and the people that are being asked the questions are purposely getting them wrong, and they're not actually being shocked. But the people doing the shocking don't realize this, and so they get told, increase it another level, until it gets to the point where the people are unresponsive and what they think is dead. And I think it was something like almost 70% of participants would just keep going because the person with the position of authority just said, keep going. And that is another issue here. And it's a big psychological thing that plays into the favor of law enforcement. But people, when it comes down to it, they really need to be educated and know what their rights are. And like I agree with what you said, Night Strike. You say, hey, I don't talk to law enforcement. I usually choose to go to another route just because, hopefully it brings a little bit of levity. But like, hey, would love to talk to you, but if I do, my attorney is gonna charge me double. So sorry.
Yeah. At most, if they come to your door, but they don't have first thing you should ask you if they ask you about anything, the first thing you should respond with is saying, "Do you have a warrant?" And if they say no, well then say, "Okay, I don't want to talk to you right now, but if you give me your name and your badge number, I will have my lawyer contact you, and we'll settle things, legally." And that's all you should really do, honestly. In all honesty, get their name and their badge number, and then go talk to your lawyer. That's it.
You think they're going to show up the next morning at 3 a.m., knocking on your door with a MRAP out front and, 12 heavily armed SWAT team members ready to roll into your house?
No, because they'd
Just to
have
make a
to
point?
they'd have to get a warrant. They'd have to get a warrant for that, and they'd have to have justifiable cause. And remember, they're going to somebody's home to check to see if they have these guns.
They'll start making examples of people. I can guarantee you they will, because
more
look at
than
what they're
likely,
doing right now.
more than likely, because they talk to the person wants them to talk to their lawyer. That's not enough justifiable cause for them to bring an MRAP and for a warrant, unless they lied to a judge. And at that point, if they lied to a judge to get a warrant, then they broke the law, and then they have to suffer the consequences of breaking the law. You see what I'm getting at?
But if you bought like 3 firearms on one purchase, then they could, in theory, come back with a warrant, right? I'm not saying I like it, but I'm just saying, isn't that what the law is?
No, because there's no
Why is it against the law to buy 3 firearms?
Where is the justifiable cause for buying 3 firearms?
Unless
I thought the ATF can't they check because of the multiple purchases running on one?
See, if a person passes a background check, that proves that they are not a felon and they are allowed to own firearms. So technically they're just a normal citizen that owns firearms, and there is therefore no justifiable cause for them to go and get a warrant.
What happens is it generates a thing called a Clio. So the limit used to be 5, where you could buy 5 firearms, because that's what will actually fit on a 4473. If you go and buy more than 5 firearms, you're gonna have to fill out 2 4473s or 3, or however many firearms you buy. And this is only at one place, so I could go to one gun shop, buy 5, go to another gun shop, buy 5, and back in the day, it would have been a big deal. Now they lowered that standard to 2. Now you can still fit 5 on the 4473, but now they lowered that standard to 2. And I still haven't gotten 100% answer on it, but I heard it was just 2 for handguns. But in this
I heard it was just 2 for handguns too, because I bought like multiple AR receivers, and I mean like between 2 and 4 at a time. Before, and I've had no problems, and they're just and it was just stripped AR receivers.
But
because those get put down as other.
Yeah.
How long ago was that as well?
It's 2 years ago.
Exactly. If it was recently, who knows what would have happened? Because I've done the same thing. Normally, I will go buy 5 or 6 lower receivers, and then I just build them out as I can and feel like.
I was looking at PSA earlier today, and they have like a really good deal on like 3 or 4 receivers, strip receivers as a set. And I've been tempted to go and get that because it's a good deal. But again, the fact is that, I don't want the ATF knocking on my door asking me about the strip receivers.
But the other thing is, the Clio, it's a bunch of crap.
Yeah,
because it's not a warrant. It's just literally something that they had put in there where they're like, oh, if somebody buys this many firearms, it's automatically got to be reported to the ATF. And really, why? What's the big deal? I mean, are you that worried about straw purchases? Cool. So what happens if I went and I bought 3, 4 firearms, whatever, and I went to the range and I sold one of them at the range because I was shooting. I was like, you know what? This is dog shit. Probably be a Glock or something. I don't know. But
it's not a straw purchase. That's buyer's remorse.
Exactly.
And,
But
and,
if
the,
they
and,
went-
and what the ATF and what the government and those in charge of the government don't realize is that with handguns, normally there's no returning handguns to the place you bought it from. So you're kind of stuck with it unless you sell it to somebody else.
Exactly. Well, I mean, really, there's not really
Unless you have a good mom and pop shop that'll give you that'll take it back. Okay, and that's the problem is they're trying to get rid of most of those mom and pop shops anyways.
Yeah, and but that's the other thing. I mean, you can go back to the mom and pop shop and sell it to them, but you're going to get 60, maybe 70% of what you paid in the first place because they still got to make money. So the best bang for your buck is going to be private sale. Like you said, all that is buyer's remorse. But if they came knocking on my door a week later, well, I sold it. I didn't like it.
Yeah. So let
And
me
now, oh, well, we think you did a straw purchase. One, there's a problem with our legal system where some things like that, they like to turn and say, well, you got to prove that you didn't do this, which I'm like, that's not how the legal system is supposed to work. It's supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. You're supposed to prove my guilt.
Yeah, they think you're guilty until proven innocent instead of the opposite as the United States justice system is supposed to work. But apparently when it applies to guns, it's just like living in jolly old England. So, anyways, I'm gonna continue on with this article. Ernst says ATF agents often arrive at the house in full gear, wearing bulletproof vests, and do not inform residents at the homes that producing the firearm was optional. The combination of these factors calls into question whether the ATF's actions are meant to harass or coerce firearm purchasers. At best, legally questionable investigations, he stated. In her letter, Ernst demands specific information from Garland and these home visits, including the number of investigations that have been conducted since these knock and talks ramped up about a month ago. Coincidentally or not, we started hearing the first reports of ATF agents conducting these front porch fishing expeditions not long after Steve Dettelbach was confirmed as the ATF director. Was this supposed crackdown on straw purchasers already in the pipeline before Dettelbach took over as the top dog at the agency, or is this his first big initiative after being installed at ATF headquarters? Okay. Ernst also wants to know whether or not the ATF is bothering to get a search warrant before they show up at the homes or recent gun buyers, as well as the process by which agents determine that there is a probable cause to go out and pay someone an in-person visit. As Fox News outlined, it appears that simply purchasing more than one gun in a relatively short period of time may be enough to trigger an investigation. Footage from one knock and talk incident in July shows ATF agents arrived at a Delaware man's home. The man had reportedly purchased 7 firearms since January. Agents on the scene admitted to the man that they did not have a warrant. They also offered some insight into how they choose to make a visit. The idea is that when you purchase more than 2 guns at a time, it generates a multiple sales report and it comes to us, and we have to check them out. It was bullshit. The agent said to the citizen, "That's all it is. You did nothing wrong. Absolutely zero. Then why are you on his front porch?" That's the problem. The man ultimately produced one of the firearms. The agents then matched the serial number and left, which he shouldn't have done that. He really shouldn't have. But the problem is people are literally being, coerced into doing this. Go ahead.
Here's the thing. If they were so concerned about him purchasing multiple firearms, wouldn't they have wanted to see all of them?
Yeah.
Not just one?
And the fact that they just saw one and then they left after that leads me to believe that they just wanted to make sure he had what he had, and that if he had one of them, that was enough for them.
But the thing is, you hit the nail on the head tonight, Frank. You shouldn't have done that because by only showing one, now if they really wanted to, I bet that, the right judge, they could get to sign off on it saying, hey, now probably said they were only there checking on the 2, but if they're like, yeah, we knew that you bought 7, all that fun jazz, and, they very well could have had the list of 7. I didn't get to, see the entire video or anything like that.
Neither
But
did I.
because from what I understand, in that Clio, it was done just for 2 ARs, which then Clios are now being issued for just 2 firearms in general. But the problem then there is, well, here's just one. Oh, so now we go back to a judge. Yeah, this person was only able to produce one. Clearly, they wanted to cooperate, but they could only produce one. So we're pretty sure he did a straw purchase. Now we need to go raid his home and make sure that he's not doing illegal crap.
Right. And, that's even a whole nother bag of cats, honestly.
Now, is that stretching? Maybe. But would I put it past the ATF? And like I said, the right judge. And
remember,
it's a federal agency. They know what judges.
Remember what Ernst said, probable cause. So there's that. Let's see. Let me see. Where were we? Okay. They left. The agents left. The magistrate number left. The Delaware gun owner didn't have to show the ATF agents at his door any of his guns. At least one county sheriff in Washington State has been urging local gun owners to contact his office if they receive a visit from the feds. I saw another video that I do want to mention where somebody was an ATF agent who had minimal, who wasn't even in any gear, was in minimal, dressed down casual clothing. He tried to take a gun away from somebody, and the guy called the cops on them, and they tased him. Did you guys see that?
Yeah, there's more to that story than you think.
I know. There's more to that story than you think, but again, it was nice to see the ATF getting tased.
Oh, absolutely. It was nice to see him crying like a little bitch.
Yep. Anyways, Benton County Sheriff Tom Krosky is weighing in on an incident in Delaware that's being discussed in right-wing circles, saying he would offend citizens' rights against federal gun rights violations. Law enforcement is not allowed to inspect your property, which would include guns, without probable cause, he told Benton County residents on a news release. If U.S. alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and explosives, or ATF, or
the AFT
agents show up on your property without providing a legal reason and will not leave, call the Benton County Sheriff's Office, he said. Of course, that's in Benton County, Delaware. But the situation is, remember what he said, and this applies to literally every state in the union. Okay? Law enforcement is not allowed to inspect your property that includes guns without probable cause, and here's the kicker, and without a warrant. Okay? Unless they have a warrant, they can't look at your guns.
Unless you give them permission.
Unless you give them permission. If you do that, well, then I hate to say it like this, and I don't mean any disrespect to anyone, but if you are stupid enough to show the AFT or the ATF or whatever you want to call them these days, your guns and the serial numbers on your guns without a warrant, without your lawyer present, well, then you kind of deserve what they throw at you. And this is not to be mean, it's not to be rude, but everyone should be well aware of their constitutional and their right to privacy. So, but the article ends saying, will Garland provide any substantive answers to the senator's request for the information? We're not holding our breath on this one, though. We think the American public is entitled to know why the agency has adopted such a confrontational tactic to supposedly address straw purchases, especially when Garland and the Justice Department seem willing to let straw buyers walk away with a slap on the wrist and a little time on probation. Perhaps Ernst can ask about that when and if Garland responds to her letter, because it sure looks like this Department of Justice effort is less about cracking down on straw buys and more about harassing legal gun owners. And I hate to say it, but that's how it's looking like lately. It looks like the ATF is more interested in, taking people's rights away and taking people's guns away than it is to actually going after criminals that break federal law using guns. Does that make any sense?
It's like they'd like to create that fear so the average person will cower and give in to them when they show up at the door, because a lot of your average, maybe you got one handgun or two handguns or something, and you're not really into, everything that goes around with, like what kind of laws or what kind of rights you have, and they show up at your door, you just, you don't know what to do. You're freaking out because you want to comply. And I don't know. It's just almost like this. It's just almost like a little thuggery is what it kind of reminds me of. Just a Gestapo kind of thing, I don't know. Just bothers me.
Yes. Thermal redneck with a paycheck. The ATF has to have a warrant or your permission to see anything or to even be on your property. That's the point. So, again, I just wanted to, make sure we're following the YouTube chat side and whatnot. Travis, I didn't mean to interrupt you or anything.
No, man, it's cool. No, that's all I wanted to say. Is it seems like they're just really trying to get their presence out there. It's almost like they're doing more of the law enforcement side instead of the interpretation side, which I thought was supposed to be their actual responsibility.
Yeah. So I got one more article we'll go over. Apparently, the Fourth Circuit hears from 2A groups in case challenging Maryland's assault weapons ban. This is one of 4 cases that the Supreme Court sent back to the lower courts after issuing its decision in the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin. And the only one of the 4 that deals with a ban on so-called assault weapons. The Fourth Circuit maintains that the state's ban is perfectly in line with the Constitution because, in the court's view, AR-15s and semi-automatic long guns are like machine guns and therefore aren't protected by the Second Amendment. Well, that's not right, because the Bruin decision says that in order for a ban to be unconstitutional, the guns have to be in circulation and they have to be in common use. And hey, guess what? Over the rest of the country, they're common use. It's literally the most common rifle in the United States today. I mean, America's rifle used to be the M1 Garand, okay? And I will argue also the M1 carbine, because they are similar, but they're not the same, but they are similar. But then, when everybody was able to have them, AR-15s became America's rifle because everybody's got one these days. I mean, Scott, you got an AR-15.
Yep.
Travis has several.
No, I don't.
Yeah. I don't know
what you're talking about.
I've got several, and I'm sure Guns and Barbecue has at least 1 or 2 ARs.
Nope, sold them all right after I bought them.
Yep. I couldn't stand looking at him, so I had to melt him down.
Now, remember, okay, for any feds listening, this is all hearsay. It's a hearsay conversation. So, joking aside, but as I was saying, it's in common use. So, the article goes on to say that was an absurd conclusion to begin with. Frankly, but thankfully, groups like the Firearms Policy Coalition and Second Amendment Foundation are getting another crack at the gun ban. And today, the organizations, along with several individual plaintiffs, filed a supplemental brief with the appellate court, arguing that the Bruin case not only completely negates the court's current view of modern sporting rifles, but that the state's ban cannot be justified under the text, history, and tradition of the right to keep and bear arms. It goes on to say, here's an excerpt saying, Bruin's second step involves asking whether a challenged law is consistent with the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation. While in many cases that inquiry will involve new research into potential historical analogs, both Bruin and Heller have already established the relevant contours of the tradition at issue in this case. Barrel arms cannot be banned unless doing so would fit into the historical tradition of prohibiting the carrying of dangerous and unusual weapons. And a law, by definition, will not fit into that tradition if it bans possession and use of weapons that are in common use at the time. See? You see how we were talking about that earlier? Common use at the time. Let's be honest. Is the AR-15 in common use across the country right now? Come on, guys. Help me out here.
Yeah.
Yes or no? I'm going to say it's going to be a yes because there's tons of companies making them.
Oh, absolutely, man.
Yeah. Okay.
Common. Yeah.
So that means, so it goes on saying, in the context of broad bans on bearable arms, in other words, the Supreme Court has already done the historical spade work, and the only restrictions of this kind that is deemed consistent with the historical understanding of the right to keep and bear arms are restrictions limited to dangerous and unusual arms that are not in common use. This court's task under Supreme Court precedent is therefore a simple one. It merely must determine whether the banned weapons are dangerous and unusual. Thus, a firearm that is in common use for lawful purposes, by definition, does not fall within this category and cannot be banned. Maryland's ban encompasses the most popular sporting rifles sold in the United States today by defining them as assault weapons. An invented phrase that the brief points out is not a recognized category of firearms, except by those who want to ban them. But while semi-automatic weapons is not a recognized category of firearms, semi-automatic assault weapons. Semi-automatic is, and it is semi-automatic rifles that Maryland's assault weapons ban targets. The automatic part of semi-automatic, which, if you don't realize, automatic means it's autonomous. It works automatically. Okay, semi-automatic means it's half automatic. Means that there's not the whole automatic part. That's why it's called semi. That's why when you call a semi truck, it's a semi. What is it? What? In the English language, there are a couple words that mean half. Okay, one of them is semi, the other is hemi. What's the third one, Travis? What is it? Demi?
Partial? Man, I don't even know.
I think it's demi. Semi, hemi, and demi.
Yeah,
mean half,
like a demigod.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes, they mean half. Okay, and I know I'm giving you guys, an English lesson. I don't mean to be, but I'm just trying to point out the stupidity that these gun grabbers are throwing at us. It's like they don't understand. They don't have any understanding of the language they speak, and that's a problem. All right. Okay, it says the automatic part of semi-automatic refers to the fact that the user need not manually load another round into the chamber after each round is fired. But unlike an automatic rifle, a semi-automatic rifle will not fire continuously on one pull of its trigger. Rather, a semi-automatic rifle requires the user to pull the trigger each time he or she wants to discharge a round. Okay, you see the point there? I see it. You guys see it, out there in the chat. You see it, Guns and Barbecue. I'm not gonna be sightist. You hear it, but
what was that?
That's the point. I said I wasn't gonna be sightist. You hear it. You hear the point. You don't see it, unfortunately, because I'm trying to be accommodating here.
That joke went over your head. It's okay.
It's all good.
Damn it,
good, man. You're trying nice, Strike. You're trying hard, buddy.
I'm really trying tonight. I'm really trying tonight. But there is thus a significant practical difference between a truly automatic and a merely semi-automatic rifle. According to the United States Army, for example, maximum effective rates of fire for various M4 and M16 series firearms is between 45 and 65 rounds per minute in semi-automatic mode versus 150 to 200 rounds per minute in automatic mode. There is a venerable tradition in this country of lawful private ownership of semi-automatic rifles. The Supreme Court has held as much, concluding that in Staples that semi-automatics, unlike machine guns, traditionally have been widely accepted as lawful possessions. The government doesn't consider semi-automatic firearms to be like machine guns. They're not covered under the National Firearms Act, for instance, unlike machine guns. Purchasing a semi-automatic handgun or long gun is no different under federal law than buying a bolt-action rifle or a revolver. Yet the Fourth Circuit declared in Colby versus Hogan that semi-automatics should be considered machine guns, at least when it comes to their protection under the Second Amendment. The Fourth Circuit may well decide to stick to that premise, as ridiculous as it is, rather than acknowledge that semi-automatic rifles are in common use for a variety of lawful purposes, from self-defense to hunting to competition shooting. We certainly hope that the Fourth Circuit adheres to the test that the Supreme Court laid out in Bruin, which should foreclose any possibility of Maryland's ban being declared constitutional for a second time. But we have a nagging feeling that the appellate court is going to twist the law and logic to find a way to uphold the ban and leave it up to the Supreme Court to ultimately resolve this case. And that's the end of that article. But that's the problem. That's the problem when you have too many, I'm going to say too many progressives, liberals, leftists, I'm going to say, in the courts, packing the courts, and when you have, a whole cabinet full of leftists, obviously they're not going to try and, protect your constitutional rights. They don't really care about them. And, this is the case right there. They don't want you to have the Second Amendment right. anyways, let's go out there. Let's see. Abigail says, yeah, gun grabbers need to go away, but gun owners need to stop being wusses. I'm paraphrasing, of course, and following gun laws. Modify your property how you see fit. Well, that's one way. It's one way. M. Gabriel out there says, I would vote that the SCOTUS defined standard from U.S. versus Miller, 1934, is necessary to the efficiency of a well-regulated militia, not in common use for lawful purposes, from Heller in 2008. Okay, that's a good one. Abigail says, my weapons are not modern sporting rifles. My rifles are weapons of war. That's why I have them. I will argue that, a standard PSA rifle is not as good as an M4. I'm going to say that right now. And
well, man, it kind of depends. If you're just talking semi-auto versus semi-auto, I mean, what you're going to say? Well, it doesn't have full auto. Well, sure, but
it doesn't have the fun switch.
Yeah, but I mean, that has its place in terms of combat. You could still fight back with a semi-auto if you had to.
Right.
But I'm not saying an AR-15 is a weapon of war either.
Abigail goes on to say, you're hanging up on the law-abiding aspect too much instead of telling the government to get railed with a cactus and owning whatever you want. Well,
that sounds painful.
That sounds painful, especially. Yeah. And what did that cactus ever do to you? What did that cactus ever do to you for you to, want to see it harmed by some government agent? I mean, that's just like this. That's just like saying, I hope the ATF shoots your dog. That's not cool. That cactus deserves better. MC's out there saying, well, I'm doing rifles wrong. Mine are varmint control, sporting, and defensive tools. Yeah. Abigail goes on to say, the sporting purpose argument is a losing one. The right to bear arms has nothing to do with sporting purposes. Exactly. That's the right to bear arms. And it's not the right to bear arms. It's the right to keep and bear arms. Henceforth, the keep. Gunmetal guy is just responding with a dot. Abigail goes on to say the AR-15 is a weapon of war. Weapons of war are the explicit purpose of the Second Amendment. No, it's not a weapon of war. honestly, you would not want to use an AR-15 out on the field. And like, case in point, in the situation of the Ukrainian-Russian invasion war, you do not want to use an AR-15, which is only a semi-automatic rifle, against Russian troops that have full auto AKs, whether they're 74s or 47s.
Well, that's if they can hit anything with a full auto.
And, you know, that's true, but at the same time, you know, if you have a
If you're talking like heavy machine guns or something, yeah, I can understand where you're coming from.
Yeah,
you know,
that's my point. You know, in an actual war, you're not going to outfit an entire battalion with semi-automatic rifles. The days of that are over. It's not World War II anymore. You can't get away with that. So it's
so
it's
what
not,
are we going to outfit ourselves with when tyranny comes knocking on our door? Night strike.
I don't know. I honestly don't. Honestly, use everything that's not bolted to the ground is what I'm going to tell you.
I was gonna say I think Clint Smith has a good clip for that.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he does.
It's called at the proper range with the proper loading. A 12-gauge shotgun will physically remove a chunk of crap from someone.
Well, and you know, the president has also said that you only need to fire off 2 blasts. That's all you need. It's a double barrel shotgun.
Up in the air.
He forgot to mention that it was through the door.
Yeah, right.
Through the door or up in the air, whatever.
Yeah.
That thing. That thing.
Baron SVG says the Keltec Sub 2000 is a weapon of war. Maybe in the state of Washington. Maybe.
No, they're using them. They sent 200 of them over to the Ukraine for free. Yeah. Keltec did.
Yeah.
I think it was 200 of them.
Abigail says carry permits are akin to a poll tax. Well, the problem about carry permits is if you live in a state where you are not required to have a carry permit, that's great. You don't have to require. You can carry wherever you want. But the problem is if you want to take that firearm outside of your state to another state that has reciprocity with your state, you have to have a carry permit. Otherwise, you can't carry in that other state. And that's the problem with it. M. Gabriel says, if the militia is now the National Guard, the arms in most common use for presumptively lawful purposes are machine guns. At the least, the Hughes Amendment is unconstitutional. I would argue that not only is the Hughes Amendment unconstitutional, but the $200 tax on every suppressor and short barrel rifle or shotgun is unconstitutional too, because the NFA in itself is unconstitutional because it adds a burden tax on the owner. So oh boy. All right. Anyways, so with that, I think we're about done. Does anybody have any other comments or any rants they want to go on about this before we wrap up?
Just a quick shout out to 80% Arms. I'm not sure if you guys have visited their website, but they are moving to Dallas-Fort Worth. They're getting out of California.
Awesome.
They're taking their entire factory, all their manufacturing. They're taking everything to Texas. So more power to them, man.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're a really good company with great customer service, and just overall, I've been really happy with them.
And M. Gabriel said the right thing. If you follow Joe's firearm advice, you will be arrested. Don't listen to the president when it comes to guns, period.
True story.
No, because you get arrested.
Exactly. Anyways, with that, Guns and Barbecue. What do you? Are you doing a show tonight? What can we look forward to?
I am. I actually got my internet figured out Sunday, I think it was. Was pretty excited about that. So we'll be back to doing a show tonight. What to look forward to with that?
Yeah,
honestly,
you know what kind of topic you're talking about tonight? Anything?
Just
preview.
Tonight's the call to action. Where we kind of go over some of the things that are going on, legislatively and whatnot. Or, and it's not always stuff that's bad, like, oh, there's this anti-gun bill, contact your senator, stuff like that. Sometimes, we find things that are good that are happening. It's like, hey, this is awesome. we should be championing this, and maybe you need to contact your senators and tell them back this. This is great, things like that. So that's what's on the list tonight. So just kind of rehashing some of the stuff that's going on. Definitely talk about what's going to be coming up tomorrow with the new rules of firearms and receivers going into effect and whatnot. So
it goes into effect midnight tonight.
Yep.
Yeah. So for those that wondering. So that sounds good. I look forward to that.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep. Scott, do you have any words of wisdom? Anything? Any final words you want to let everybody? You want to leave everybody with?
Not really.
Well, thanks, Scott, for showing up at least.
Hey, I'm trying to do my duty.
Right. I see that. All right. Travis, anything else you'd like to tell people?
Never give up, man. Failure is not an option. Otherwise, cheap plugs. Check out my YouTube channel, Travis P11. And on Saturday, we'll be talking about AK pattern 12 gauge Vepr and Sega clones. It should be a fun little discussion and just kind of see where we go from there. So it should be a good show. But
all right.
First for that topic. So, yeah.
And with that, we will see you all later. So thank you all for listening. This was Hit or Miss. And remember, shall not be infringed.
Hey, Alicia, when you going to call me, girl?
Felicia Navidad.
Adios, Felicio.
Adios, Felicia. Bye,
Adios,
Felicia.
Bye, Felicia.
Te amo. Te amo, Felicia.
Yeah,
Hasta la vista, Felicia.
There you go. Hasta mañana, Felicia. Mi amor.
Das vidania, Felicia.
Das vidania.
Das vidania. Avita ciao.
How many languages does this chick speak anyway?
I don't know. All right. How do I turn this off?
Hit the button. Hit the button. Not that one.